In VB.NET, just like in English, a palindrome is any number or word that if spelled backwards, it would be the same as when it is spelled forwards. For instance, the word level, like this. If I spell it backwards, it's supposed to say level again. So this program now checks whether this word is a palindrome or not. If it's a palindrome, it displays in the label that it's a palindrome. If it's not a palindrome, it displays it's not a palindrome. So here I'm supposed to see that it's a palindrome, and level is a palindrome because when you read level backwards, it is a palindrome. Let's try radar, like this. Radar is also a palindrome, but then if you try toss or toe, it's not a palindrome, obviously. Toe is not a palindrome because if you read it backwards, it's not the same as when you read it forward. Now let's see how we can do that in VB.NET. So for starters, I will use a console application, and then at the same time, I will then demonstrate how you can do that in Windows Forms. All right. So the first thing that you need to do is to accept an input that is going to be compared to see how it is a palindrome or not. So I'm going to accept my input and then store it into a variable called input value, like this. So I'm going to say it's a string, declare it as a string, like this. And then obviously I tell the user enter a word. Right, now let's see, when the user enters the word, input value is assigned anything that is typed by the user. So this statement input value is assigned console.readline. It means that whatever would be typed by the user is stored in the what? In the variable called input value. Now after that, we now need to compare what has been input to see if it is the same when it is reversed. All right. Now here's what I need you to note here. So now we use if statements. If input value is the same as when we reverse that same value in the input value. So this time I'll say str reverse input value. Then I'll say console dot write line input value is a palindrome. Now what this statement means is that if whatever is in the variable input value is the same when we reverse it, that is reading it from right to left, so we are now reversing whatever again is in the input value. So this is a comparison. So if this is the same when it is reversed, and then we say it is a palindrome, else obviously we can now tell the user, okay, I want to write the console.writeLine statement, input value is not a palindrome. So else we're displaying the message whatever you have typed in here is not a palindrome. So if I type tor is put inside the variable, is stored inside the variable input value. Now tor is compared with the reverse value of that same word, and if it is a palindrome, we get this message. If it's not, it means this condition, this statement is, if this condition is false, it means this one is executed. And then of course we have to apply the console.read key. Right, so let's run the code. So if I type in level, it's a palindrome, right? Level is a palindrome. Okay, let me just put space here. Now let me see if I type tor, since we were talking about tor. Tor is not a palindrome, right? So pretty much this is how a palindrome works. Now if you are going to be doing that in Windows Forms, the logic is the same. Here we declare our input value, right? This one. So the input value will store whatever is typed in by the user in this text box there. And then we now run our condition if input value is the same as the reverse of the input value. But this time now we're not using console, we're displaying in a label. So the label with the name label1.text will display everything that is on the right side. So it will display this value. Let's run this again. So if I type level, it will tell me level is a palindrome. But if I type in tor, it will tell me tor is not a palindrome. When you do that, you're done.